Hey everyone, Akwasi here. And if you're seeing this, chances are you've experienced the dreaded blue screen of death, the BSOD. It's that awful moment when your computer throws in the towel, flashes a cryptic error message, and leaves you feeling completely lost. But don't smash your keyboard just yet. In this video, I'm going to walk you through a step-by-step guide to help you troubleshoot and fix those BSOD issues. We're going to cover everything from identifying the error codes to checking for hardware issues, so you can get back to computing without wanting to pull your hair out. Alright, so the first thing you want to do when you encounter the BSOD is to take a deep breath. I know it's frustrating, but panicking won't help. What we need is information. Now, the BSOD usually displays an error code or message, and this is like a clue to help us figure out what went wrong. It might seem like gibberish at first, but trust me, it's important. Jot down this error code, or better yet, take a picture of it with your phone. You can also try to remember any specific details about what you were doing just before the BSOD popped up. Were you gaming, browsing the web, or installing new software? These details might seem insignificant, but they can actually be super helpful in pinpointing the root cause of the problem. For example, if the BSOD consistently happens when you're playing a specific game, it could indicate a driver issue or a problem with your graphics card. On the other hand, if the BSOD occurs randomly, it might suggest a more general system problem, like faulty hardware or a corrupted system file. The more information you can gather at this stage, the better equipped we'll be to tackle the issue head-on. Once you've noted down the error code and any relevant details, we can move on to the next step, which is trying to boot your computer into safe mode. This will allow us to troubleshoot the issue in a more controlled environment. So, you've encountered the dreaded BSOD, and now you're staring at a blank screen. Don't worry, we're going to try to get you into safe mode. Safe mode is like Windows Safe Space. It loads only the essential drivers and services, which can help us isolate whether the BSOD is caused by software or something more serious. Now, getting into safe mode can be a bit tricky, especially if you can't even boot into Windows normally. But don't worry, I've got you covered. For Windows 10 or 11, we're going to use a technique called interrupting the normal boot process. Basically, we're going to force your computer to show us the advanced startup options. To do this, turn on your computer, and as soon as you see the Windows logo, press and hold the power button until the computer shuts off. Repeat this process 2 more times. On the 3rd attempt, your computer should enter the advanced startup environment. You'll see a screen with various troubleshooting options. From there, select Troubleshoot, then go to Advanced Options, and finally, select Startup Settings. In Startup Settings, you'll find an option to enable Safe Mode. Press the corresponding number key on your keyboard to boot into Safe Mode. Once you're in Safe Mode, you'll notice that your desktop looks a bit different. Don't worry, that's perfectly normal. It just means that Windows is running with minimal drivers and services. Now that we're in safe mode, we can start troubleshooting the BSOD issue more effectively. Alright, so we're in safe mode. Now let's try to figure out if this BSOD is due to some pesky software acting up. First things first, think back to any recent changes you've made to your system. Did you install any new programs, update any drivers, or maybe tinker with some system settings? If so, those changes might be the culprit behind our blue screen woes. Let's start by uninstalling any recently installed software. Head over to the control panel and look for programs and features, or apps and features, depending on your Windows version. From there, you can see a list of all the installed programs on your system. Sort them by installation date and see if anything looks suspicious or coincides with the time you started experiencing the BSOD. If you find a program that you think might be causing the issue, select it and click on Uninstall to remove it from your system. While we're at it, let's also check for any Windows updates that might have been installed recently. Sometimes a buggy update can also trigger a BSOD. To check for updates, go to Settings and then Update and Security. Under Windows Update, you'll see an option to view update history. If you find any updates that were installed around the time the BSOD started happening, you can try uninstalling them one by one to see if that resolves the issue. Drivers, those little pieces of software that let your hardware talk to your operating system, can be a real pain in the neck when they decide to act up. And you know what? They can definitely cause a BSOD. So let's see if we can get those drivers in check. First, we're going to open up Device Manager. You can do this by right-clicking on the Start button and selecting Device Manager from the menu. Once you're in Device Manager, take a look around. See any devices with a little yellow exclamation mark next to them. That's Windows telling you that something's not quite right with that particular device driver. It could be outdated, corrupted, or just plain incompatible. Whatever the case, we need to address it. Now, if you see a yellow exclamation mark, the first thing you want to try is updating the driver. Right-click on the problematic device and select Update Driver. Windows will then search for the latest driver software for that device. If it finds one, follow the on-screen instructions to install it. Hopefully that will fix the issue. But sometimes updating the driver might not do the trick. In fact, it's possible that the latest driver itself is causing the BSOD. If that's the case, we need to roll back the driver to a previous version. To do this, right-click on the device again, but this time select Properties. In the Properties window, go to the Driver tab. Here, you'll find an option to roll back driver. Click on it, and Windows will revert the driver to the previous version. Okay, so we've tackled the software side of things, but what if the BSOD is being caused by a hardware problem? Now, hardware issues can be a bit trickier to diagnose, but don't worry, we've got some tools up our sleeve. First up, let's run some memory tests. Your computer's RAM, or random access memory, is like its short-term memory. It stores data that the computer needs to access quickly. If your RAM is faulty, it can definitely lead to system instability and those dreaded BSODs. Luckily, Windows has a built-in memory diagnostic tool that can help us identify any problems with our RAM. Just type Memory Diagnostic in the Start menu search bar and you should see it pop up. Run the tool and let it do its thing. It might take a while to complete, so be patient. If the memory test detects any errors, it's a strong indication that you might need to replace one or more of your RAM modules. Next up, let's check our hard drive or SSD for errors. Windows has another handy tool for this called Check Disk, or CHKDisk for short. Open up a command prompt as administrator and type in thkdisk per f/r and hit enter. This will instruct CheckDisk to scan your hard drive for errors and attempt to fix them. Again, this process might take a while, depending on the size of your drive and the number of errors it encounters. Remember when I said Windows was like a giant time machine? Well, get ready to hop in, because we're going back to the past. System Restore is a lifesaver when it comes to fixing those stubborn BSODs that just won't budge. It basically allows you to revert your system to a previous point in time when everything was working smoothly. Think of it like hitting the undo button on a major scale. Now, before you get too excited, System Restore doesn't back up your personal files, so don't rely on it as your sole backup solution. But it does create restore points at regular intervals, usually before major system changes like software installations or driver updates. These restore points capture the state of your system files and settings, allowing you to roll back to a point before the BSOD started haunting your computer. To access System Restore, just type System Restore in the Start menu search bar and hit enter. You'll see a list of available restore points. Choose one that was created before you started experiencing the BSOD and follow the on-screen instructions. System Restore will then do its magic, reverting your system to the chosen restore point. Keep in mind that this process might take a while, so be patient and let it finish without interrupting it. We're getting down to the wire here, but don't worry, we've got a few more tricks up our sleeves. Sometimes the BSOD culprit might be hiding in plain sight, or rather within the depths of your computer's BIOS or firmware. Now, the BIOS, or Basic Input-Output System, is like the low-level software that controls your computer's hardware before your operating system even loads up. And just like any other software, it can have bugs or compatibility issues that can lead to, you guessed it, the dreaded BSOD. Firmware updates are like software updates for your hardware, addressing any known issues or improving compatibility. So how do we check for BIOS or firmware updates? Well, the process can vary depending on your computer's manufacturer and motherboard model. But generally, you'll need to visit the manufacturer's website, look for the support section and find the downloads or drivers page for your specific model. Once you're there, look for any available BIOS or firmware updates. If you find any, download the update file and carefully follow the instructions provided by the manufacturer. Updating your BIOS or firmware can be a bit risky if not done correctly, so make sure to follow the instructions to the letter and don't interrupt the process once it's started. Alright, we've exhausted all other options and the BSOD is still haunting your computer. I know it's not ideal, but sometimes the most effective solution is also the most drastic one: reinstalling Windows. I know, it sounds like a pain, and it can be, but trust me, a clean install of Windows can work wonders for your system's stability and performance. Think of it like hitting the reset button on your computer, wiping the slate clean and giving you a fresh start. Before you proceed, it's crucial to back up all your important data. I can't stress this enough. Reinstalling Windows will erase everything on your hard drive or SSD, so make sure you have backups of your documents, photos, videos, and anything else you don't want to lose. Once you've backed up your data, you can proceed with the reinstallation process. For Windows 10 or 11, Microsoft has made it easier than ever to reinstall Windows. Go to Settings, then Update and Security, and select Recovery. Under Reset this PC, you'll find two options: Keep My Files or Remove Everything. If you choose Keep My Files, Windows will reinstall itself while attempting to preserve your personal files, but it's still a good idea to have backups just in case. If you choose Remove Everything, Windows will perform a clean install, erasing everything on your hard drive or SSD. This option is generally recommended if you're experiencing persistent issues or want a completely fresh start. Follow the on-screen instructions to complete the reinstallation process. Your computer will restart several times, and the whole process might take a while, so be patient and let it finish. And there you have it. Hopefully, one of these steps helped you banish the blue screen of death for good. Remember, troubleshooting computer issues can be a bit like detective work, but with a little patience and persistence, you can usually get to the bottom of things. And hey, if you're still having trouble, don't hesitate to reach out in the comments below, and I'll do my best to help you out. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more tech tips and tutorials. Until next time, stay safe, stay techie, and I'll see you in the next one.